Hello and welcome to Reclaim and Heal Your Inner Child. I'm Jan Haldane. So what exactly is an inner child? Is it important? Why should you be learning this? So every single one of us has an inner child. And the inner child is lodged firmly in our subconscious. So when you think about an iceberg and you think of the tip of an iceberg poking above the water there, that's our conscious mind. So that's what every day we think with, we filter everything through our conscious mind. But underneath it all, just like an iceberg, there is this huge amount of stuff that we don't really even consciously think about. So if you've had a difficult childhood, or even a not so difficult childhood, your child may have been traumatized in some way. And, you don't consciously know this. You probably don't even remember it. But what happens is that it comes out in your behavior. Something will trigger you, and that child that is still within you, what we call the wounded child, is going to come out in your behavior. So is this important? Yes, absolutely important, because if it can ruin relationships, it can ruin your career, it can ruin all sorts of things if you don't get a handle on your inner child. So a wounded inner child can have negative effects on your life, just to put that in a nutshell. So moving on. So Carl Gustav Jung was a colleague of Sigmund Freud. So he's an Austrian psychiatrist. That's not him, by the way, there with the teddy bear. That's just a graphic I got off Canva. But anyway, Carl Gustav Jung is credited with founding the concept of the inner child. And according to Jung, the child is one of the archetypes contributing to the development of self. Now, Jung was really into archetypes. And, you may have studied this in the past. But it's all really, really interesting stuff, all the Jungian stuff. So the child is kind of our connection to the past, so that we can remember who we were actually born to be. And that might sound a bit kind of floaty and woo-woo, but that's actually what it's all about. So, there's other people too that have done a lot of work on the inner child. So Charles Whitfield, he's got a book called Healing the Child Within, Discovery and Recovery of Adult Children. And that was published in 1987. Now, what happens when our inner child is wounded? Of course, it stays in there. So we've got this adult body, this adult face. We speak like an adult, but unfortunately, our child is running the show. But that's when you get called an adult child, and you'll see that in the course. So another person who's done quite a lot of work is Lucia Capiccioni with art therapy as a modality for reparenting your inner child. Her book is called Recovery of Your Inner Child, and it was published in 1991. So you can see this is not just some new kind of fad thing. This has been going on for a long time. So moving on to inner child work. Now, John Bradshaw, he's written a book on the inner child, and he's also had a TV show. He's a counsellor and therapist. And he mentions three things that are striking about inner child work. And I can tell you that this is the reality of it, because I've done quite a bit of it. It's very often requested these days as a session. But here are the three things that John Bradshaw talks about. The speed with which people change when they do the work. Yes, absolutely. The depth of what they change. Totally. The power and creativity that result when wounds from the past are healed. That is absolutely so true. And so his famous book was published in 1990 called Homecoming, Reclaiming and Champion Your Inner Child. So he's a renowned author in the field of inner child work. So moving on. So children adapt. So when we're born, we can be called either the natural child or the wonder child. So Eric Berne, who developed TA or transactional analysis, talks of the child ego state as being the spontaneous natural child we once were. So the child we were when we were born. And transactional analysis describes the ways that the natural child adapted to the stresses of early family life. So there, you can think you're born, you're the natural child, and then you have to adapt to your family life. You have to adapt to your school life, just to life, basically. And so there can be a lot of wounding there, and this is what we're going to talk about as we go through the modules. So you can think of what we might call the original child that was born as the natural child, which is kind of TA, or the wonder child, which is more of Jung and John Bradshaw. So after a while, we then get the adapted child. So the child's been through all sorts of things and had to adapt their behaviour, perhaps suppress their emotions, and perhaps there's been all kinds of abuse, unfortunately. They become the adapted or the wounded child. So in this course, we work looking at the wonder child and the wounded child. So that's just giving you a little bit of background there. So let's just move on. So I really hope you'll join me on this course. It is such a versatile course to have in your repertoire or your toolbox or whatever you want to call it when you're a therapist. And I really hope to see you on Module 1. But until then, you have a fantastic day. Bye for now.